What's with the heavy sighs?
Oh, that. Merely reflecting on the hopeless nature of the task in front of it. The most likely outcome is that it and its companions will become a stain on some rock for the darkspawn to tread upon. I shall be moved to a single tear by the tragedy.
So here's the thing that I already like about you. You're every dour, smart-ass soldier and dwarf I've ever known. You have that sort of fatalistic humor. You have that gloriously fatalistic humor of a soldier who's seen too much action and knows pretty much what crappy action is going to happen despite what anyone says. It's dour, it's dry, it's wry, it's fantastic, and it's very dwarven. Because we've been fighting wars and losing them for God knows how long. Thanks to Mr. Maker. Thanks for dumping the darkspawn in our backyard. So you're awesome, Shale. But you know what? I don't think our chances are so bad. Someone's got to be cheerful, and I'm the officer. All the enlisted men who know what the score is are all cynical, wry, and dry, and dour, and sarcastic. But the officer, that's why you've got officers. So you can put a big stupid grin on his stupid face and pretend that things are going to be good. And everyone's going to be like, well, we got to listen to him, so at least he's optimistic. He's an idiot, but he's optimistic. Or in my case, she.
Oh, how adorable. Such hope is sweet to see, isn't it? What's that? Did it hear flapping wings? There may be pigeons nearby. We should be alert.
Now, other than the thing about him being worried about being crapped on by birds, that whole thing at the beginning is what every single enlisted man has wanted to say to every single officer they've ever served under, no matter how good or bad he is, because they're all supposed to be inspiring. So I feel honored, because I am that inspiring officer that the men are all pissed at. And that's my job. They'd be even more depressed if I was depressed. Then they'd be like, well, we're really fucked. I would have expected golems to be different.
Different? Different than what? Different than a statue? Different than a log? Should I talk in a monotone? Yes, master, I exist to serve the master. I shall kill for the master and only for the master. Perhaps it expected me to have a booming voice. Recite limericks. I can recite limericks, if it likes.
Are they dirty limericks? Oh, yeah.
Mostly they involve slaughtering pigeons in creative and invasive manners. I have never met another golem. I have no idea what one might be like, or why I wouldn't be like them. Why? Has it met other golems? Did they not sound as I do?
I have no idea what golems sound like. Being different isn't so bad. You know what? I'm different. Compared to what I could have been, I'm different. The people I'm with are different. Maybe being different was part of why I survived. I don't know. But being different isn't so bad.
Did I say it was bad? It thinks I hang on its every word, waiting for approval. I don't know what other golems might be like, but I am already superior by virtue of my free will. This is a good thing.
You know what? Being a golem would be kind of handy. I mean, there's the whole sex thing. Sex is good. It's really good. Stone may create difficulties for anatomy, though. I don't think Leliana would want me to be a golem. And I want to keep Leliana happy. But other than that, it is handy.
Imagine the benefits. No need to eat or sleep or perform other functions. Walk underwater, crush the heads of every opponent. The possibilities are limitless. Barring the occasional 30 years or so of paralysis, there's little to compare. Now stop talking so much. The wagging of its moist little tongue is distracting.
Very well, my dear Shale. But in the end, I think I agree with Leliana. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a golem. Leliana really probably wouldn't enjoy that. Ah, yes, thank you. Ah, my little soldier. My little stone soldier. I have some questions.
It doesn't have better things to do.
No, I'm learning about my dour, sour soldier. Are those crystals in your skin?
I like to think of them as accessories.
Touché. Fair enough. And you are a lady from what I can tell. It makes sense that you would want accessories. But what do they do?
I suspect that it is an art that was practiced when golems were more, commonplace. My former master collected whatever lore he could find on the subject. He searched far and wide to collect what crystals he could and then added them. It is not an unpleasant sensation.
So they're decoration.
As I understand it, the crystals allow me to alter the flow of magic around me. Wilhelm had hoped to turn me into a battery of mana, something he could tap at will.
But they can do other things too.
Some of the crystals increase the presence of mana, some absorb or reflect spells. There are various kinds. All I can promise is that should it ever find one of these crystals, I can likely tell it the function and what it would do if added to me.
Interesting. Would you be willing to have more added?
Why not? I don't get to wear clothing and other adornments like the rest of you
Yes,
creatures,
that's
after
true.
all. That answers its question, I assume? Unless it has more.
Certainly. However, I heard you killed your former master.
Did I not already tell it that I do not remember doing such? I remember having a master. My memories of what happened to him are vague.
Vague, but not non-existent.
Clever and true.
Aha.
Oh, very well. Let me see what I can recall. My former master enjoyed experimenting upon me. I remember that much. There was tinkering with spells, and then the crystals. He was very eager to alter my function, I think.
You know what? Shale is Shale. She works as Shale. There's no need to change you. You're fine as you are.
Flattery. And obvious flattery, too.
But it's not. It's true. You are what you are, and you work
He
just
possessed
fine.
my control rod. And back then, it would have prevented me from doing anything he did not command me to, no matter how I might have wished to. So what happened? I am unsure. He was experimenting, and then nothing.
What do you remember
And
next?
then he was gone. I was standing where I was, in the village, and I could no longer move. The villagers came, poked and prodded me in fear, and then realized they could neither move me nor destroy me. So they simply left me. And in time I forgot I hadn't stood there all along.
That's really kind of sad. Yeah, that's really sad.
In fact, at first I found it more of a relief.
Really?
For so many years I'd had to
I think
leap
you're
to that
just
little
saying that.
toadstool's every command. Get this, pick up that, put it down, pick it up again. The gall! At first I'd hoped he'd simply decided to leave me there paralyzed, an acceptable trade-off. After years passed, I simply stopped caring.
I do believe her. Well, on the positive side, it seems like you got to
I think
rest.
I was ready to move on. Another few years and the moss would have covered my face, And then where would I have been? Whatever the mage did seemed to render the control rod useless, for which I should be thankful, yes? And provided it doesn't decide to copy his experiments, not that I would allow it, it is nothing to fear from me. Much.
Sounds good to me.
The things that it fights, and it fights things often, that is a different story. Let us get back to the walking and the fighting. My stone is beginning to itch again.
Okay, fair enough. Ooh. Wow. I think that Shale just likes being talked to. It's been so long.
I've watched a lot of humans in my time. It should be aware that I've decided that it is not much like any of them.
Well, I'm not really a human.
Oh, it's not just that. Well, I'm sure that's part of it, but it's not only that. Surely it must come from some superior lineage, yes? Some breed of flesh creature that has decided to elevate its genetic stock above its natural shortcomings.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I am casteless and in exile. Is that what you mean?
Then that must be it. My experience with dwarves is limited, but obviously I need to encounter more of them. I would appreciate if it didn't spread around that I said anything. Humans might start to get the wrong idea. They might start thinking their race is not completely hopeless.
Well, we wouldn't want that.
Indeed. Can it imagine the horror? Oh. Now, let us crush something into a fine paste before it starts to think I've gone all soft. Perish the thought.
I like talking to Shale. She's my grumpy enlisted man.
It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
How'd you end up at Hanleaf? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. That I remember quite well. My former master, the Mage Wilhelm, he brought me. As I recall, he had acquired some position with whatever lord ruled the land. I, being little more than a glorified possession at the time, was brought along. Oh, how he enjoyed impressing the villagers with me. Gollum, snarl at that villager there, be fearsome.
Oh, no.
And of course, I would have to do it.
I'm sorry. I would have thought you'd enjoy scaring humans.
I'd have happily stomped them all into paste, and then ripped down their little houses and stomped on them, too. In fact, after 30 years of watching them, I'd do it twice. What I didn't like was being ordered to do it. Dangled in front of those frightened morons like some scary thing. Once I was a statue, it took those villagers years before they'd even approach me. The first one to actually work up the nerve to touch me urinated himself.
Oh. But why were you out in front of the tower?
That is where Wilhelm kept me. He wanted me out in the open where I could be frightening like a scarecrow. I was supposed to watch for thieves. Plus, his wife didn't want me indoors. She said there wasn't room for me. Hag.
His wife?
I was once larger, 10 feet tall. Then the loathsome hag complained that I couldn't fit through the doors. So the mage had me shrunk down. Can it believe it? And she still wanted me out.
Oh, what an atrocious... How did someone shrink
With
go?
a chisel. And a lot
Oh,
of nerve.
no, that's awful. You had every right to kill this Wilhelm son of a bitch, and damn his wife, too. I almost feel bad about saving the kid. Nah, I don't. You did like Wilhelm, I take it.
He did love using that control rod. Fondled it so much, his wife actually threatened to throw it in the lake. I would have liked to have seen that. Which reminds me, where did it find the rod? Did it pay a great deal for it?
Not really. It's good to bargain. Yeah, she's not gonna like that. Wilhelm's wife sold it, I believe.
Hag.
Do you remember anything before Hanleith?
I traveled with the mage. He did a lot of traveling, I remember that. But where we went, it is rather fuzzy. I remember great battles, fighting many humans long ago. They were all very soft and squishy.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, No, there are only images. I was somewhere dark.
Okay. Just how old are you exactly?
I have no idea. Wilhelm used to brag that the dwarves stopped making golems centuries ago.
Oh, yeah.
I do not age as you soft creatures do. Sadly, my memory is no better. Plus, I get bored and stop paying attention.
Okay. Interesting. I'm done asking
Good.
about that.
I was just about done talking about it. It does like to have a good chat now and again, doesn't it?
Indeed I do, sir. Indeed I do. And you know what we're going to do? Since I've had such a good chat with you, since I've laughed and found it funny,
Ooh, shiny.
yeah, I might check something. Uh-huh. Rage Demon. Encountered in the Fade, the true form of a rage demon is a frightening sight, a thing of pure fire. Its body seemingly made of amorphous lava, and its eyes two pinpricks of baleful light radiating from its core. The abilities of such a demon center on the fire it generates. It burns those who come near, and the most powerful of its kind are able to lash out with bolts of fire and even firestorms that can affect entire areas. Fortunately, even powerful rage demons are less intelligent than most other varieties. Their tactics are simple: attack an enemy on sight with as much force as possible until it perishes. Some rage demons carry over their heat-based abilities into possessed hosts, but otherwise the true form is mostly seen outside of their fate, when it's specifically summoned by a mage to do its bidding. Desire Demon. In all my studies, I must say that the most intriguing was my interview with a Desire Demon. I can't imagine why, given that it's so tied to seduction. That the creature was willing to speak with me was a sign that it was no mere monster, mindlessly driven by its nature, but rather a rational being as interested in me as I was in it. Yeah, I bet it was. It took a form that I would call female. Yeah, I bet it did. Though I had no doubt that it could appear otherwise. I wondered if it appeared as it did because it wanted it to, or because I expected it to. She wanted to seduce you, dumbass. She, and indeed I could only think of her as such now, smiled warmly to me and laughed a musical sound that seemed to thrill my old heart. Horny old man. Seductive demon, young demon. So frightened was I of this creature's legendary abilities to twist the hearts of men, and so relieved was I when I looked across the table into her dark eyes. Ah, you sucker. This was a fearsome creature of the Fade, but as I spoke with her, I slowly came to realize that this demon was merely as misunderstood as we mages are ourselves. Ah, she suckered you. She suckered you. Oh, what a shock! From the journal of former senior enchanter Malleus, one of the Circle of Pervade, declared apostate in 920 Dragon. I wonder why I never saw that coming. Of all the threats beyond the veil, few are more insidious and deceptively deadly than the Desire Demon. Yep, in folklore, such demons are characterized as peddlers of lust, luring their prey into a sexual encounter only to be slain at the culmination. While a Desire Demon can indeed deal in pleasure, in truth they deal with any manner of desire that humans can possess. Wealth, power, beauty, to name a few. Far more intelligent than the bestial, hunger, and rage demons, and more ambitious than the demons of sloth. These dark spirits are among the most skilled at tempting mages into possession. Yeah, I imagine they are. Many who serve the whims of a Desire Demon never realize it. They are manipulated by illusions and deceit, if not outright mind control, although these demons are reluctant to resort to such crude measures. Instead, they seem to take great pleasure in corruption. The greater the deceit, the greater their victory. Only demons of pride prove more fearsome opponents when roused. Their abilities to affect the mind allow them to assume disguises and even alter the environment to their purposes, not to mention the great strength and speed they possess if they should have to resort to more physical means. Most often a Desire Demon will attempt to bargain its way to freedom if overpowered. Many stories exist that depict mages defeating Desire Demons to the point where a wish can be wrested from them. It should be noted that such stories, the demons almost always gets the upper hand. No surprise there. Even when the mage thinks his wish has been granted. You betcha. Don't trust him. Shale, what can I say? I have a heart of stone. The golems of Orzammar once made up the vanguard of the dwarven army, holding back the tides of deep spawn that flooded out of the deep roads. But the art of making them was lost, and many of them succumbed to wear and damage in battle. Shale has no memories either of the time spent fighting in the deep roads or of coming to Fonleys, only a few spotty and bitter recollections of its last master. Natia unearthed Shale's control rod and awakened it, adding a bitter malfunctioning golem to the menagerie of companions. Alright. Let's see what we got here.
It speaks.
That's a question.
It doesn't have better things to do.
How did Wilhelm come to acquire you?
That part I know, as Wilhelm often bragged about it to whomever was willing to listen to him. He claimed to have found me in the deep roads. I was in the ruins of a Tig, he said, deactivated, with my control rod not far away.
You don't know why you were there?
I think I remember a battle. It was long before, and then there was darkness. In short, no, I do not remember why I was there. It makes no difference.
What was Wilhelm doing in the deep roads?
It was a hobby of his, scavenging. One of the reasons he traveled so much is that he was looking for entrances into the deep roads, old places the dwarves had long forgotten. And then he would sneak down and search for magical treasure, before anyone was the wiser.
Wouldn't that have been dangerous?
Indeed. He had spells that allowed him to remain hidden and move quickly, but he had no defense against the blight and worried constantly that he would get sick. If any darkspawn showed themselves, he fled. More often, he would have to fight other scavengers, dwarves who had become tainted.
Yeah.
In the end, it killed him. I mean, he found me there, right?
So if he hadn't found you...
I wouldn't have had to put up with the twit, and I would be none the wiser. I don't think I was aware while I was there. Not like in the village. Or perhaps I was. Perhaps that was the dark place, and I simply couldn't see anything.
Interesting.
How long could even I sit in the darkness and stare out at nothing, never sleeping? Oh, I do not wish to think of that.
Sorry, Shale. Do you know where in the deep roads this was?
No. That secretive bastard refused to tell me. I would ask and ask, but no. He used to say that one day, if I were compliant and didn't talk back at his wife, he would take me there and I could look around myself. Rotten, lying bastard. If I had his head in my hands now, I would squeeze it like a giant lemon. Squish.
So would I, Shale, so would I. Let's move on.
On then. It speaks.
I have some questions.
It doesn't have better things to do.
You watched that village day and night for years? That would be boring.
I do not sleep, so yes, and I thank it for reminding me. Try to imagine, if it will, what it would be like to be surrounded by nothing but boring peasants, all oblivious to it.
Yes, that would be rather horrid.
And then there were the birds.
Oh, yeah.
A whole village full of pigeons and ravens and sparrows all perching on me day in and day out.
Sounds a little messy.
Those foolish villagers would spread birdseed, destroying the birds because they thought having birds perch on me was quaint. Quaint! If there hadn't been the occasional kind soul to scour me clean, I will
clean you.
I don't care to discuss this anymore. It speaks.
Some questions.
It doesn't have better things to do.
You don't seem to like humans much.
That is true. I do not. I'm not interested in getting into a discussion on the subject, however. Ask another time. If it is done asking overly obvious questions, let us find some humans to throw off a cliff or something.